So hi, Robin.
Good
Also,
morning.
Praveen is with us also. Yeah. All right, let's then jump into this continuation of the presentation. Today we will have to cover the Vedic paradigm, the concept of the sacrifice, and the triple supermind, which is quite a huge topic altogether. But I will try to kind of follow up on it. We can't cover everything, but we can kind of highlight the parts of it and see how it is related to integral yoga and connected with the Vedic vision. So I'm projecting the. Uh, Most probably, I will continue with the same which we started with our deities. Unless you have some burning questions and you want to have some answer related to the topics, of course, we discuss.
I just want to request the recording, Vladimir. Thank you.
The recording of this last
No,
session was
no.
this.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Start. Yeah.
So we went through kind of mainly covering the devatas, what they mean, and that all you will find in my article um, on the symbolism of the Veda in the light of Sri Aurobindo, to some extent. Of course, it doesn't cover the Maruts or the Danavas, Dasyus, all these anti-divine forces, Panis, uh, Ashwins doesn't touch Soma, Osha, but Ribhus, what we discussed last time. Um, but one cannot even know these things until one studies the Veda. Yeah? If you study it longer, you dwell on the hymns, you understand the symbolism which is given by Sri Aurobindo, then slowly it settles down and it becomes a part of your identity. We read Sri Aurobindo's explanation. We went also through Vedic rishis, major Vedic rishis in different mandalas. This mandala 1, uh, the mandala 2 and 9, and finally the mandala 10. Uh, So if today is the topic of the Vedic paradigm, I prepared separate PowerPoint. Let me connect to it then. I'm jumpy because I have several PowerPoints. So it's a big topic, and so you see 31 slide. I will try to be very concrete and brief. You remember long ago we started to discuss Sri Aurobindo's vision of the whole divine plan. Yeah, that was here somewhere. This divine plan. Do you remember? We looked into very briefly. Right, and this is something which is so related to the Vedas because only in the Vedas we have all the planes, especially above the head. You know, these planes which Sri Aurobindo here defines over mental planes of triple overmind and even more detailed on this supermind which is beyond the overmind and the transcendental levels. From the highest to the most. This is man standing, this is the head of the man, the torso, the legs, and finally the below the planes in the inconscient, subconscious, and inconscient, and nescient even. We go so deep that where achit, there is no consciousness whatsoever. In the canto of the mother of evil and sons of darkness, we find the description of this level of nescient, where entering into which the soul is crossed from the list of existent ones. So there is absolute absence of consciousness. But that means that the soul, which is consciousness, cannot operate there and is kind of um, removed from the list of existent ones. Very dangerous level of infinite inconscient or nascent even. Because inconscient it implies something else. It's here inconscient, yes, this achetana. So to say the chetana, the awareness is not there, but achit is the consciousness is not there.
So does it mean that the soul is not there?
Soul cannot know itself there, you know.
It's not there?
It cannot know itself there.
Oh, cannot know itself, but it is there.
Well, if it cannot know itself there, even the divine cannot know itself there. So this is the problem of this achit level. In Nasadiya Suktam, we have the whole, the last verse, if you remember. So that Adhyaksha, where this creation is coming from, who knows? The gods were not there at the beginning, it says. Nobody knows. Maybe he knows, it says. He who is in the highest heaven, the supreme Adhyaksha. Or maybe he also doesn't know. So he doesn't know, and there is a reason for it, because here, if he would want to know, he would not know. Can you imagine? This is a high level of density of absence of consciousness. So he really doesn't know here, but he knows somewhere above that there is a region in which he will not know himself. Total denial of his awareness. And from there we go up. There will be the obscure physical, obscure vital, obscure mind. Obscure, interesting. It's subconscious. Yeah?
So, Vladimir, a quick question. Did the rishis know about this nascent region? Because
Yes, they call it Adri, the infinite rock. Yeah?
So this is the rock.
Yes, this is the rock on which everything is established. And Sri Aurobindo says that he was digging into this rock. He came down and was digging into this Maya, he is also calling it, and breaking through this hard place. And finally he broke through. And from there the light came supreme. So within this rock somewhere there deep, because this altogether is inclusive in the embrace of the light.
Yeah.
So, Vladimir, is this the same rock that Pegasus hits with his hoof?
Could be, but there are several rocks which have to be broken. There is Vala also in the subconscious, here in this obscure mind level. Vala, which is hiding all our treasures, yeah, and have to be broken. I think it is more about that, but it is also associated with this, with a final achievement of breaking the full resistance of darkness and absence of consciousness and revealing the hidden consciousness within. And that is the ideal of immortality. Once this changes, then there is no bottom anymore. We are bottomless. Everywhere is light, yeah, below and above. And that is immortality. As long as there is this rock there, yeah, immortality is impossible. That's what Mother discovered in her yoga of the cells and the yoga of the body, that she came to the transformation of the physical body, and she said it is impossible to do in one individual framework, yeah, because it involves everyone and everything. So if I change my physical being, then I change all physical beings. And that is because of this connection to this fundamental rock. Yeah? Everything stands on it as on foundation. So, and then we have the level of the feet. We spoke about this pure physical consciousness, pure so physical vital. On the level of the knees, Mother speaks about these chakras. Then we have mental, physical. Here it is. This is our Muladhara center. So these are the three chakras. And then we go up one by one. There is the psychic behind the center, Anahata chakra. And then there is psychic mind, you see here in the Sahasrara, and mind of light, Sri Aurobindo's here. So there are many interesting things for you to observe and to learn from the Vedic and the perspective of integral yoga. And then we go above the Sahasrara, and there will be universal, those subliminal realms, yeah, universal vital, universal mental, mind, a higher mind, finally illumined mind, and this is the top of our embodied state, and then there will be breakthrough into the intuition realm, and the intuition realm also has many levels.
That I find fascinating, this whole intuition line there. I don't know why, but
Well, it's all very fascinating. The whole thing.
it is fascinating, yes. And
yeah.
okay, I'll leave
Go
it
ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
How can I relate this? And then going back to our speaking of the deities, when I leave the body, if I'm not in a physical body, is this equally as applicable?
It's a question, yes. How far it is applicable without the physical body. I'm not sure even. I think it is not. It is applicable only when you're in the physical, because this physical body, if you look at it, it's an amazing thing. It connects heaven and earth, as it were. Yes? It is that link between higher planes of consciousness and the lowest. They all exist by themselves, but whether it is operational for the unembodied being in that way, I'm not sure. I'm even sure that it is not.
Thank you.
You may be there, but you cannot operate. You are kind of part of something. Well, I will not say what I don't know, really, how you behave there, if you are out of body. But I know for sure that if you are out of body, all the changes in your growth of consciousness and evolution is impossible. Yes, the very evolution of consciousness becomes impossible when you don't have the body. So it seems that the body plays this fundamental role. All right, so we were looking into Sri Aurobindo's long ago, into the whole this paradigm, how he builds the absolutes. He has four absolutes. First absolute, second, third, and fourth. And Sri Aurobindo did an amazing work of kind of recovering that paradigm of knowledge. I'm not going into all of this because it will take all our time. I'm just highlighting, we had the whole session on it once. But today I want to come to this is from his notes, yeah? These notes were made for himself. It was not meant to be published. That's how he studied it, how he envisioned and experienced those higher levels. It's an amazing journey. I will come closer to us, to the supramental world. I need this for showing how the supermind is functioning and how it is triple and how it was seen in the Veda. So in one go, this slide will show all those other slides. Satchitananda unmanifest, making possible every kind of manifestation. So being consciousness bliss of the Supreme makes every manifestation possible. And Satchitananda in manifestation, it is his infinite being, infinite consciousness and bliss. Now Sri Aurobindo kind of defines this in this way, that Sat implying Chit and Tapas, and Ananda, Chit implying Sat and Ananda, Ananda implying Sat and Chit Tapas. So they are not, you cannot separate them. Yeah? They are one. So if you arrive at Ananda, you are immediately in the Sat Chit. Yes? If you arrive at Sat, you are immediately Chit and Ananda. This is transcendental Satchit Tapas Ananda, or those levels of, in the Vedic tradition, Varuna, Mitra, Aryaman, Bhaga, those faculties of the Divine Mother, Aditi. And then Supermind, or Divine Gnosis. And Divine Gnosis is interesting in one thing, that it is the self-determining infinite consciousness, self-determining. So it will be some kind of spelling out or some kind of rearrangement of Satchitananda in terms of oneness and manyness, in terms of relations, in terms of meaningful infinite relations, determining the relations within those infinite qualities in terms of time and space. Time and space is not yet there, but time and space is being born there. So as it is said in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Vijnanam yajnam tanute, karmani tanute picha, Vijnanam devaha sarve brahma jyeshtham upasate. So Vijnana is spreading the sacrifice. Vijnana creates all the activities, karmani tanute, spreads all the actions. Vijnanam devaha sarve, Vijnana, all the gods worship as Brahman, the best. So this is the Brahmanic consciousness, which Brahman means expansion. This is where the expansion is taking place of Brahma Svayambhu, of self-born creator. If you remember, there was yesterday Radha was mentioning Vishnu lying on the Ananta, Ananta snake, and on the ocean, on the upper ocean. And from his navel there is a lotus coming, and in the lotus Brahma Svayambhu is born. And that Brahma Svayambhu is the creator. He has four faces. He looks in four directions. He builds the space in which the manifestation of Satchitananda becomes possible. So from that point of view of our ascent, from the point of view of our ascent upwards, if you look at the supermind, this is the truth consciousness as distinguished from all below that belongs to the separative consciousness. So the supermind is still unifying consciousness, though it has all the varieties, infinite varieties of details. But below it, there is immediately the separative consciousness. And in the Veda, it is described in a beautiful way as the sun. It's in the hymn, I think, 29 of Mandala 5. The sun meets the darkness. And so the sun is infinite. But when the darkness comes to the sun, it kind of pervades it. They pervade each other. So to say, the light from here, the body of the sun reaches to the darkness as rays of the sun. And this, the first level of this pervasiveness of light into the darkness is called swar world, as Sri Aurobindo translates it as mm, the realm of the ray of the sun. Not of the sun, but of the ray of the sun. It's the first sun, the first meeting of the sun and darkness. And so darkness starts separating light into the bits and pieces. And that separation creates, it is basically how time and space is being created. Yes, that's the role of the darkness, of the night, to keep up, to spell out in time and space all the infinite varieties of the divine. And here we have this overmind or Maya. Maya, interestingly, in the Veda means the creatrix, the force which creates the worlds. It is the divine mother, actually, in this creatrix form. Later, Maya means illusion only, yes, you know. And that Maya, even in Buddhistic tradition, Maya is an illusion. Yeah? And Hinduism and Shankaracharya will speak about Maya as something which creates an illusion. It's not an illusion. It creates the forms in time and space, which are becoming. It creates the dynamic place or in time and space of becoming of the truth. Maya is from root ma, to form, to create forms, like mother, matri. Yes, matri is the same, from the same root. So overmind, that first level of creation, the highest, before supermind or after the supermind, if you look from above, takes all truth that comes down to it from the supermind. This is Sri Aurobindo's quotation. But sets up each truth as a separate force, an idea capable of conflicting with the others as well as cooperating with them, which is impossible in the supermind. In the supermind, this conflict is impossible.
Can you say something on each truth? You know, because we're so ingrained that there's only one truth. So just briefly, please.
Well, the divine is infinite. Well, difficult to, if you imagine that infinite qualities, varieties, properties, infinite possibilities of every grain of the truth. And each grain of the truth has infinite possibilities of the truth. So those grains of the truth in the overmind are separated and given their total right of absolute truth. Now everyone, every bit, every atom will have an absolute right to be in the absolute form. It can conflict with others or it can cooperate with them. Depends. Yeah? But it has an absolute right. Everything which came to life once has an absolute right to be, as Sri Aurobindo says somewhere in Savage. Once experienced, it has an absolute right to be. So this being, which is coming from absolute infinite being of the divine consciousness being force, truth and and bliss, has and now will be spelled out in these details. So each of a mental being, that means these clusters of light separated from other clusters, rays separated from other rays, each of a mental being has its own world. Each force has its own play and throws itself out to realize its own fulfillment in the cosmic play. This is the Maya. All is possible. And from this separative seat of conflicting and even mutually negating possibilities comes too, as soon as mind, life, and matter are thrown out of into play, the possibility of ignorance, unconsciousness, falsehood, death, and suffering. So this is how Overmind, with emphasizing or giving the right of every truth of the infinite being to be in itself, is actually determining the fall of these higher emanations and conversion them or turning them into their opposites.
So these opposites are also truths.
Truths which kind of, yes, which disconnected from the Supreme, yes.
Yeah, but they are also truths.
Yes, potentially.
In that sense, I mean,
Eventually, yes.
yeah.
In their evolutionary, yes, rising, they are also true. Everything is true. There is nothing which is not true, and it could not be otherwise.
But it also existed in the overmind.
Yes, in the overmind, it is being formed as a separate truth, which is capable of deciding whether to cooperate with others or to conflict and negate them, or even negate itself. It has a full freedom to behave as it wants to behave, as the Lord himself.
Because it has a purpose?
Because the Lord is like this. He is free to choose to be or not to be. You're muted, Jess, or you are not talking to us.
So dark forces are there in the overmind too.
The night, yes, penetrating the sun, generates the rays there. Yes, this is the mixture of the night and the sun. Yes, this is the overmind.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, I mean, as a yogi, then, as myself, last week I was suffering. This morning I'm feeling love. You know, I mean, I guess just going back to 101.
Yes.
So it would be my discipline, my practices, my devotion, my bhakti, my studies, my nama sankirtanas, and all of it that will it sway the winds of this overmind? Will it create a svatantra in my favor, or am I missing the point completely?
Favor. You
I
have to
mean,
favor.
right?
Give me a favor.
Give me a favor, help. You know?
Where is my benefit in all of this knowledge? What's the point? Overmind will turn towards me or will turn away. Overmind is the whole world where everyone, including you, has the full right to decide whether to cooperate or to conflict with others. So if you are conflicting, you have to find that kind of thing in you and remove it and cooperate if you want to. Or stay yourself. You can be separate from conflict and cooperation altogether if you want to. So you have full freedom to behave. You can be anything, as Sri Aurobindo says beautifully. Somewhere he speaks about himself, as you remember, most probably. I wasn't a poet, but I made myself a poet. I wasn't a philosopher, but I made myself a philosopher. You can make yourself whatever you want to be. You have the full capacity, and Overmind gives you this right. Of course, it will take time. It's in time and space. Don't forget. Yeah? It won't be immediately, but your will make it.
Thank you. That helped. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is nobody to blame, only you, yourself. As Sri Krishna would say, only you is Atmanatmanam. Um, Uddharet Atmanatmanam, Natmanam avasadayet. One should raise oneself by oneself. One should not put down oneself by oneself. And that is the overmental power of the self, which is granted to all creatures, all beings. The power of the Lord is granted. It's a great opportunity for everyone to be like him, to be in his form, in his. So here are the levels up to the mind level, from the overmind proper. These are earlier schemes. Maybe I will not dwell on them. Don't want to. I want to come to the things which we already know, which will be easier for us. So here it is another scheme which is quite interesting. Do you see it properly? Let me enlarge it. If you look at the Brahman is that Satchitananda Vijnana Manas Prana and Anna. Vijnana separates Satchitananda from Manas Prana and Annam. Yes? And this is the higher hemisphere, this is the lower hemisphere, and this is the connection of them both. Where this lower is being generated, it's here generated and projected. The higher is projected into the lower. And the lower is projected into the higher. That's how the world is one. If this higher would not be there, then what would happen? I shifted it. If the higher would not be there, this lower would not never come to exist. It would not be possible for Manas, Prana and Annam to exist without Satchitananda. Satchitananda is responsible for Manas, Prana and Annam to manifest. So it's a manifestation of the higher hemisphere. And even theoretically, it would not be possible for it to be, because it needs the transcendental support. Otherwise, how it could be possible for it to become in time and space. So these are the levels of consciousness being, as you see, existence, consciousness, bliss. These are like fundamental concepts of our existence. But there is someone within them, the self, which makes these levels, kind of embodies them, or draws this cloth onto itself, or dresses himself into it. And that is Atman, self. Self-awareness of Brahman is Atman. And so Brahman becomes Sat Purusha, divine self, Chaitanya Purusha, Anandamaya Purusha, Vijnanamaya Purusha, Manomaya Purusha, Pranamaya Purusha, and Annamaya Purusha. All these are beings individualized or self-oriented being within those levels. This is a fundamental notion of the Veda and of the whole Hinduism. So there is the spirit and there is the self. Self-awareness of spirit is the self. And the self is possible because there is beyond, there is a Lord, the supreme person, as Mother says. The supreme person is beyond, which makes his being individualized, personalized. So this personification of the being creates what we know as Atman, self. So on the highest level, of course, it is the divine self. It is Purushottama in his form of existence. On the level of consciousness, it is Purushottama on his level of awareness. On the blissful level, it is Purushottama on the level of bliss. And then we go down on the Vijnanamaya, on the supramental level, it is the Lord, the Supreme, the Purushottama on the level of great soul, an organization of all his infinite qualities and infinite properties in oneness, in meaningful relations, which is when projected, generates these three lower levels and creates the mental being. This is Purushottama on the level of the mind, vital being. It is him, the Lord, on the level of the vital, of life, and on the mental level, Annamaya Purusha, the physical being. It is him. If Purushottama would not be here, Atman would not be possible at all. Atman is the presence of Purushottama in the spirit Brahman, in that previous slide here. Oops, sorry, in this one. So if Purushottama wants existence, wants to be existent, he becomes Atman. Conscious, he becomes Atman, Chaitanya Purusha. Blissful, he becomes Anandamaya Purusha, or Atman. By the way, when I say Purusha, it's here Purusha everywhere. It could be also Atman. Aitareya uses both Purusha and Atman. It can be Anandamaya Atman, Vijnanamaya Atma, Manomaya Atma. Yeah? It is actually a synonym of Purusha. There is a difference between Purusha and Atman, which I also most probably mentioned before, but I will mention again. Atman is the self-awareness, whereas Purusha is already self-awareness in varieties of faculties. Purusha has seeing, hearing, speaking, thinking. Purusha has all the faculties in himself and can manifest the worlds because of that. The varieties of relations, apprehensive and comprehensive cognition. Whereas Atman is more like a self-awareness without all those spelled out activities of consciousness. So Purusha, according to the Upanishads, was created for the sake of manifestation. In the Vedas, we have Purusha Sukta, where it is described that Purusha was sacrificed. Sacrifice means his faculties were thrown into the inconscient ocean in order to build up the manifestation. So this projection of the faculties manifests the worlds. So that's the difference between the Atman and Purusha. Purusha is more the Lord, as Sri Aurobindo says, and Atman is more the self. The self and the Lord. These are two fundamentals of our creation. I know it sounds like butter and butter, but there is a difference. The self is the being and the Lord is the consciousness. So there is a central focused being which has consciousness, and consciousness has faculties, and these faculties manifest the worlds. Atman itself could not manifest the worlds. It needed Purusha, it needed the varieties of seeing and hearing, difference between the apprehensive and comprehensive cognition, between form and name. It needed to connect them. And all of this is being generated in the form of Purusha. And that's why Purusha was sacrificed, not Atman. Atman was not sacrificed. Atman made the sacrifice with Purusha.
In putting this in context, Vladimir, just is we're in the Kashmir Shaivism has, you know, the tattvas all the way down to, you know, the 36 tattvas. Are we somewhere in that kind of range talking about Purusha, or is this a completely different angle on it?
No, it is the same angle, yes. In later, because when you speak about Shaivism, which adopted already Sankhya changed the whole of Hinduism. So in Sankhya, all the tattvas, 25 tattvas of Sankhya, there are two major fundamental realities, Purusha and Prakriti. Prakriti is manifestation of Purusha's qualities in time and space. Yeah? And so Purusha attends to her and she starts moving, mixing gunas, creating buddhi, ahankara, manas, all the karmendriyas, jnanendriyas. She will generate all the varieties of those varieties which Purusha delegated from himself to her. In Sankhya, it is not said that Purusha delegates his faculties. Yeah? In Aitareya, it is said that the faculties which were born out of universal Purusha plunged into the inconscient ocean. So the sight, the hearing, the speaking, everything came down and started to rebuild in evolutionary sense the whole being. But how they plunged, it means that Purusha attended, so to say, in Sankhya's terms, to Prakriti. Yes, to the place in time and space. He attended. Attended means he delegated his faculties. If he would delegate only awareness without faculties, the world would not become that what it is, yeah, in time and space, with many varieties of relations, colors, hues, sounds, everything, what we see around and hear around, perceive around. This variety is due to his complexity of Purusha's faculties. If that complexity would not be there, the world would be quite a simple thing, I guess. One awareness for all, you know. There are no even possibilities of interaction, or so that's what we have 5 fingers, for example, that we have sight, is eyes, ears, nostrils, breathing, speaking, tongue, brain, all this because of Purusha. Yeah, mind, feelings, movement, it is because of him. If Atman would be there only as self-awareness of Brahman, this would not come into existence.
Okay, thank you for that. And then I'm thinking that Overmind then adds the freedom to the Purusha, but now I'm just
Overmind, yeah. Overmind is the something else. It does separate and gives you the right for anyone, any Atman, to build up the Purusha. Yeah? Because self-awareness is not only within you as a Purusha, but self-awareness is in each part of you also. This is an amazing thing. Each cell in you, in your body, is aware of itself. There is awareness within your material, within your vital, within your mental being, awareness which is not even you as a Purusha, as this combination of all those beings. So this self-awareness, Atman, is amazing power because it can cooperate with any other self-awareness and build up the composition. And this being which is in front of you, or you look at yourself, is a composition of those self-aware beings. You are not aware of it, but once you start being aware of it, it becomes very complex. Your life becomes interesting. What you comprise. This is all described in the mother's agenda, her discovery of the awareness of the body and of the cells, that they have their own consciousness. And she says that each cell actually is an immortal self. It is perfectly done. It has its own self-awareness. But because they have to interact with other cells, the difficulty comes in the cooperation. All the difficulty is in cooperation only, not in the manifestation. It is how we cooperate, how these beings cooperate with one another. And you can see this is the major problem in the world today. We are all very well defined and made, but our cooperation is very weak. Sri Aurobindo, in other words, says all the problems are the problems of harmony. So he starts Life Divine with this. Harmony, cooperation, working together as one. We deny that cooperation. You know, when Mother was, before leaving her body, she called all the people, Shyamsundar, Navajata, all the people who were responsible for Auroville Sri Aurobindo Society, ashram. She took their hands, put one on the other, and on the top she put her hand and said, cooperation. Looking into theirs, cooperation. It's a new yoga, cooperation. Nobody, once she left her body, everybody went in different directions. Nobody could cooperate. Sorry, I'm saying cooperation. Collaboration is another word. She was using collaboration, labor, yeah, work together. And this is the Overmind gives you the choice, either to collaborate or to, but not in the Vijnana. In Vijnana Maya, it is the supermind, everything is in harmony. Sri Aurobindo describes Vijnana Maya level as it's absolute perfection. It's the right word. It is Mahasarasvati, absolute perfection within itself. All the details, all the individual forms in Vijnana are aware of the whole thing, and the whole thing is aware of each detail. Can you imagine such consciousness? Simultaneously, immediately, without delay, no delay. Delay comes with overmind. When the darkness pervades, then the delay comes. There is no delay. And he says, if any bit, any part of the supermind would have a need, suppose, would have some need in something, the whole system would rush to fulfill that need immediately with no delay. So there is no possibility to have a need because it's constantly being addressed by the system. But not in the overmind. In the overmind, you have your own self-awareness, and it's up to you. As freedom is given to you. Do whatever you want. See what happens. There are more things I wanted to address. We looked into this before, you remember, into the major triple status of the supermind. So the supermind is the unity, many in one and one in many and many. These are three levels of the supermind. Total oneness on the top, Daksha, Amsha, and Surya. And many, but these many are aware of the oneness. And they do not contradict the oneness. They can't even do it yet because there is no darkness. There is no gap. And since there is no gap, they would not contradict. They only collaborate, cooperate. So in the Vedic terms, these are three greater godheads, Daksha, Amsha, and Surya. I'm a little bit jumpy because I've already presented this before, so I don't want to repeat myself. But if you want to be kind of totally smoothly moving from one to another, because I'm thinking now about Praveen, who is here for the first time. Let me then start from this slide 16 and go onward. So the faculties of consciousness in the Veda are seen as projected from the Divine Mother, Aditi. By the way, Divine Mother and Purusha have something in common. The Divine Mother is consciousness force, consciousness power, Chit Shakti, and Purusha is also that. It's amazing. Purusha also has the Brahmana, Kshatriya, you remember the four Varnas. And these four Varnas are major powers of the Divine Mother. This is Maheshwari, Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, and Mahasaraswati. These are the four Varnas, the four major qualities of the soul. And Sri Aurobindo says that though it is known as Purusha sacrifice, it was known also in the Veda as the Holocaust of the Divine Mother, the sacrifice by the Divine Mother. Because these greater godheads, Varuna, Mitra, Yaman, Bhaga, Daksha, Amsha, and Surya, 7 Adityas, were sacrificed. They were projected into the lower hemisphere. So these supreme emanations of consciousness, force, Adityas, are 7, Varuna, Mitra, Yaman, Bhaga, Daksha, Amsha, and Surya. Or Sat, Chit, Tapas, Ananda, and triple supermind. Oneness, many in one and one in many and many. This all was projected into time and space, or let us say, met by the darkness. And when it was met by the darkness, it generated the separative consciousness. So here they are also in this myth. So these 7 Adityas and Aditi together, when Aditi produced the 8th son, Vivasvat, who was born shapeless, formless, ugly. He's called Martanda, we spoke about this already. So she left him to be alone. Left means separated her light from this darkness. And the Vivasvat, the luminous one, was taken by Asuras into the inconscient. So he became the creator of the universe. It is from him that Agni is arising. It is even said in the Veda that Agni is rising from Vivasvat. So Vivasvat is somewhat in the depth of our darkness. And that generates the world as we know it, the lower hemisphere. So these I already mentioned who are there, will not go to it, we'll jump forward. So these 3 triple supermind is Daksha, who represents the power of thought. These are Sri Aurobindo words. All discerning and all distributing power of supramental consciousness. Amsha represents the diversity in oneness, supported by that unifying power of Daksha. If the unifying power of Daksha would not be there, the Amsha would not be possible to maintain. And then Surya or Savitar represents all the 7 Adityas and projects them into the lower hemisphere, lower creation. His rays represent the diversity of the domain of swar or overmind. Are we on the same page or I'm jumpy?
No, we've talked about this before.
I talk very good, you remember. Praveen, are you with us or you already switched off from all of that?
I'm there.
There somewhere, yes?
Yeah.
Good. Well, I would love us to understand these things rather than me going through it. Yeah.
I think it might be a little fast for Praveen because, he missed out on the earlier, what you said about Varuna,
Right.
the birth. I think he might miss. It might be a little fast for him. I don't know. He's not saying anything.
Yeah, we don't see his face. If we would see his face, we would read it, saying, okay, now we have to stop here.
But it's always good to go through it again.
All right.
This
So-
is going to take a lot of study to understand this.
Right.
I mean, if I can understand this in this lifetime, I think that'll be a huge accomplishment.
Right. But you understand Satchitananda, no? It's the same in Hinduism and yeah. So this is Satchitananda, being, consciousness, and bliss. In terms of the Veda, it is Varuna, Mitra, Mitra, Yaman, Bhaga. Yes, just different names, and these names also kind of recover something of that functionality. For example, Varuna is all encompassing heaven or sky. Mitra is the luminous consciousness flaming with light, Chit. Aryaman is tapas, force, yes, from Aryaman. You can see this Ri root, which is always resisting every change, which has its own position. Bhaga from root bhaj, to share the delight. It's constant sharing of one's own being with others, which generates the delight. So these are the fundamentals of the divine existence. And then when they want to be projected into time and space, when the manifestation is to come into being, we have these three levels of the supermind, of the truth, of oneness, diversity, and in between oneness and diversity, yeah? Which holds both oneness and diversity, amsha. So that's basically very logical in a way. By the mind, we can even understand what it means.
I think end of September, you had sent us a file on all this for us to print it out and study.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So
Well,
that is
I printed it out. I don't know about the rest.
No, we
printed it out.
printed it out too. We printed it out too.
Printed it, looked at it. Yes, nice file.
No,
Very good file.
no, we did study it, but then when you explain it, Vladimir, it like the light
Come.
comes on again.
Yes.
Switched on, yes, good. It has to be switched on many times until it is kind of easily staying.
Yeah.
Mm,
And excuse my arrogant ignorance, through all of this, there have been times I have gone through the tattvas and understood and actually studied things. So you're very gracious to let me jump in here when you have all gone deeper than I have. Thank you.
No, it's perfectly fine. We all are still learning.
we're all learning. Don't worry, I'm with you together. But these are once you read the Vedas, you will find very interesting indications of these godheads, what they do, why Sri Aurobindo explains them in this way. Sri Aurobindo had the experiences of that level. We learn from him. We are trying to kind of join his consciousness and the Vedic consciousness, and this is the language. This is the apprehensive picture. This is the myth which we have to keep in mind in order for our surface mind to join the experience and not to block it away. That's why we learn it. As Sri Aurobindo says somewhere today, I read such a beautiful quotation that any experience, any small 1 minute of experience is better than all the explanations of the spirituality. So, because these explanations are meant to help us to arrive at that experience. If they are not helpful, they are useless. Absolutely useless. If there is nothing, if there is no aha moment, now I can see how the world is built. If there is no such revelation, then I'm just beating around the bush for no reason. Yeah? But for me, it was a revelation. I must tell you, this what you see here is everything what I understood. Why Varuna, who is the highest supreme divine existence, becomes the lowest deity of the ocean and darkness, and has the news and everything, and very feared by many rishis, because he embodies the whole being, from the highest immortal existence to the lowest mortal existence. This is Varuna. He holds in himself every possible being, in time and space and beyond time and space. The same with Mitra. Mitra, we don't have the names for these here, but we have Diti and Aditi. We don't have the names for Daksha and Amsha here, but this would be Overmind Daksha, and Amsha would be, or Daksha will be the supramental Overmind in terms of Sri Aurobindo's terminology. Amsha will be Overmind in this, on this level, on the lower level. And Vivasvat would be that very thing which was stolen into the darkness. That pervasive darkness of the light of Surya. So it is something which is, yes, on this level, Varuna becomes the matter, Mitra Aryaman becomes life force, which is double because it's knowledge and power together. Life force is knowledge and power, it's always double. And we spoke about Ashwins and Sahadeva and Nakula and Sahadeva in this way, that life force, when these two come together, they heal everything. They are the healers. And Bhaga is related to our psychic. Sri Aurobindo changes the scheme and says that Bhaga on the lower level is a projection into the psychic being. In the Upanishads, Bhaga is associated in this level as mind, on the level of the mind. Though mind is here, so to say, mind is projected from these. This is our psychic, this is our life, this is our material existence. And this is separative consciousness. For me, it was like, now I understand what the Vedas are trying to say. What they are doing there, they are explaining, they are showing things as they are in the most symbolic language, which works actually. So this projection of the higher to the lower, you notice these 7 on the top and 7 below, and it's amazing because that also fits with Sri Aurobindo's description, 7 times 7 below and 7 times 7 above. Why 7 times? Because each one of them embodies all 7. And that creates the fullness, which our mind even cannot comprehend. But it is true. It's the way, or the only way to explain to our mind the fullness of manifestation. Because this is a mental, logical explanation. I go ahead. Oh, there is no ahead anymore. Okay. God. I went into the forest. I'm sorry to lead you into this jungle. No, nevertheless, we will come out of it. Don't worry. We will come out of it. When it is apprehensively presented, then it is becoming overwhelming. It has to be understood. And we will spend some time to understand it. Once we understand this scheme, this major scheme of things, here it is. You remember this scheme. You printed it out or something. So He is unity, one in many, of the supermind which it projected in Trirochanas in the same manner, more unifying, diversifying, and diversed the rays of the light. That means supramental overmind and intuition. He is on this level intuition, which Bill was mentioning, that he is fascinated by intuition. And then this triplicity is projected in the mental, vital, and physical worlds. And each one of those also triple. Physical, vital, physical, mental, physical. Yeah? There are three Tisro Bhumi, three earths, as the Veda says. There are three levels of the vital life. That means physical, vital, and mental, vital. And then there is the triple heaven, Tisro Diyar. And that is mental mind, vital mind, and physical mind. And notice, physical is present on all the levels, mental is present on all the levels, and vital is present on all the levels. It's a pervasive being. So there is no mind without the physical. There is no physical without the mind. This is the Vedic vision. So this manifestation, what we see around us, physical, has mind behind it, has vital behind it, can't be otherwise. Nothing physical can be here without this mental overview. So notice, mental is more unifying, vital is more diversifying, and physical is totally dispersed, totally uniquely presented, because in time and space it can occupy only a particular space, and because of that it is uniquely presented. So physical is the most diverse manifestation. We spoke about this before. There are no same fingerprints in the world. There are no same leaves in the forest. You will not find the same leaf in the forest. There are no same pebbles on the shore. They are all different. There's a total diversity on the physical plane in time and space. Why? Because the divine is infinite. That's why. The infinity is manifested in the physical form. But vital is something which is more unifying in this diversity, because there is life force which is similar in many forms. In the same leaves, the life force is more unifying, and the mind of the leaves is even more unifying. It's a concept of a leaf. It's a concept how the leaf will work, how it will receive light. It is the very construct which will hold all the leaves under its own, conceptual functionality. It's a concept of the leaf. So you can see these three elements of supermind, how they manifest the infinite varieties, the infinity of the divine being in this manifestation. And these are three, notice 9 levels, 3 times 3. And these are known in the Veda as Navagva rishis, rishis of 9 rays, rishis who realized all the levels of consciousness, from the most physical to the most mental. And then they call to Indra, and Indra brings the lightning from swar world, and they become Dashagva rishis. They join the swar. So up to these 9 levels, they have one more swar world, and they become aware of the divine. So swar world also has 3 levels. So altogether 12 levels of consciousness. By the way, only the mother speaks about these 12 levels, 12 exteriorizations of consciousness. She mentions in agenda that she had a friend who could exteriorize 12 times up to the supermind, to the highest level she could come and come back. to the physical.
Also, the human body has 12 chakras, right?
Right. This is the mother again. Nobody speaks about 12 chakras. We speak about 6 or 7. And what's 6 or 7? First Muladhara is this, mental physical. Vital physical is Svadhisthana. Vital is Manipura. Mental vital is Anahata. So notice, Svadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, this is torso, vital world. It's our torso. This is our head. Physical mind is Vishuddha. Vital mind is Ajna. The mental mind is Sahasrara. This is the head. This is the torso. This is the legs. The top is Manipur, the Kundalini Shakti, Muladhara chakra. And then below, on the level of the knees, vital physical, and on the level of the feet, below the feet, physical. These two chakras we do not know well because we never go down there. But Mother speaks about them. They are there. So, and above the Sahasrara, she mentions there are 3 more chakras. And these are Trirochanas. Chakra of the intuitive mind, of the overmind, and the supramental overmind, before the supermind, the highest. We never go there. Nobody goes there, ever. We receive some intuition from there, but to go there, it's something altogether, is a very high level of consciousness.
Savitri.
Yes, Vedic rishis did this. And for them it was a great achievement to break through and to break through the ceiling. This ceiling is a mental mind, or what we call the illumined mind. Illumined mind is the highest in the our hemisphere, lower hemisphere. If you look at this scheme, this is the illumined mind. This blue color, you notice, higher mind, blue, vital, purple, physical, red. So all these blues is our lower hemisphere. But the moment we break to intuitive mind, it is totally new color. Yeah, it's another world. It's the world which is influenced by the supermind over mind. Notice these colors. This is Mother's colors. In the canto, the self, in the self of the mind, in the self of mind, Sri Aurobindo describes this shift from the illumined mind to the intuitive mind. It's an amazing shift. We have to read it in order to understand the difference. It's a big achievement to break through. So Vedic rishis, Navagva rishis, who fulfilled here everything, break through to the intuitive mind. Indra brings the lightning. Okay, I stop here. I'm already over 15 minutes. Pravina, are you still with us?
Yes, Vladimir, I'm there here.
Is it helpful or so-so?
I went through your first 2 lectures. Yes.
Okay.
So I think, yes, I think some of the ideas were very, very profound. Like, for example, you talked about how duality comes into being or into the universe. And then you were talking about mathematics, and the whole creation thing was very, very mesmerizing to me. But I really felt that I have to go through them many more times to fully kind of, understand them. But I've gone through them once, but I think I'll have to hear them multiple times.
Sure. Are you familiar with Sri Aurobindo and integral yoga? Yes.
I think in the second lecture that you were talking about the triple transformation. Yes, that was, and you were also quoting verses from the Vedas where the Supreme Lord kind of went into himself again when we are talking about the second creation. So I could just connect that, but I'm new to the triple Yeah.
All right, all right. There are more also presentations on this topic in different languages. So I will maybe connect you or send you some of my other presentations I made on the same topic, yes, of the creation. And so it may be kind of helpful. We went through several times with this group, so we are kind of ready to go ahead. Yes.
I just read a brief biography of Aurobindo, but yeah, and I have some Sanskrit books, but other than that, it's new, but it's very interesting also because you're presenting the Vedic paradigm also, Vladimir. So thanks for that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So you can see the major disconnect which happened after in the post-Vedic period is that the whole overmind, this yellow and this many-colored overmind, were considered to be the realms of Maya, which had to be bypassed. So from the levels of the mind, or from the levels, let us say, from illumined mind, the person wanted to jump into the bliss, consciousness, and existence, or even sometimes to asat, unmanifest. Yeah. So bypassing these realms of intuitive mind and overmind. And because of that, the whole supermind disappears altogether from philosophy. There is no more supermind. Supermind, the sun becomes some kind of, planet which gives heat and consumes our soma. So what is left is Satchitananda and the lower, and there is a huge gap in between. So what Sri Aurobindo did, he recovered these levels, this golden, many-colored, and yellow, and they are absolutely necessary for manifestation of the divine in the physical form. If they are not necessary to leave the manifestation, but they are necessary to manifest the divine. And that's why they had to be recovered. We have to become aware of them. There is a link between the transcendental and this world, yeah? And it can be bridged, and then the psychic comes into existence, into full meaning, because psychic will be the element which will make a bridge, yeah, between the supermind, between the transcendental and this world. It is through the psychic that that connection can be made. And that's why psychic is not so popular in Indian spirituality. It's not so popular. What is popular is the Asat and Satchitananda in some way. And and Sahasrara, Samadhi, all those other forms of realization in the lower hemisphere. But these in-between realms disappeared. And that is the whole difference between the Vedic and integral yoga and post-Vedic, where these realms are not even mentioned. Not even mentioned. All right. And the very idea of transformation of life disappears. There is no more possibility of transforming this physical life, life in time and space. There is only a possibility to leave it and to go to the divine, because these three levels disappeared. This is in brief, which I wanted, this is my major kind of message, that we have to understand the difference between the Vedas and post-Vedic literature and the role of integral yoga in recovering of the Vedas. And these overmind, these are all the great godheads. They are born there. You know? Intuition is that Indra with his lightning, which is connecting the supramental light to the lower hemisphere. Okay. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti 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 Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om. Namaste.
Thank you, Vladimir.